Virginia, 1978. Robert Duvall sits in his living room reading a script, The Great Santini. Pat Conroy's novel adapted for film, the story of Bull Meacham, a Marine fighter pilot. Tough, demanding, impossible to please. A father who loves his family but doesn't know how to show it, who measures everything in wins and losses, who sees tenderness as weakness, who believes men don't cry, don't apologize, don't admit mistakes. Robert is 47 years old. He's read hundreds of scripts. Knows within 10 pages whether something is worth his time. But this one is different. This one makes his hands shake. Not because it's badly written, because it's too well written, too accurate, too familiar. This isn't just a character. This is his childhood. This is his father. William Howard Duvall, career Navy officer, admiral, rose through the ranks during World War II. Korea. A man who commanded ships and men with absolute authority, who brought that same authority home. He who ran his household like a military operation, who demanded excellence, who accepted nothing less than perfection, who never, in 47 years, told his son he loved him. Robert puts down the script, walks to the window, looks out at nothing, feels something he hasn't let himself feel in decades, the weight of growing up under that roof, under that scrutiny, under that impossible standard, the longing for approval that never came, the hope that one day his father would say the words, would acknowledge, would soften, would become something other than what he was. But what nobody knows yet is that playing Bull Meacham will force Robert Duvall to confront the one relationship he's spent his entire life avoiding. Robert's agent calls, asks if he's read the script, what he thinks. It's a good role, leading role, well-written, strong director, decent budget. Are you interested? Robert doesn't answer immediately, because interest isn't the question. The question is whether he can do this, whether he can spend 3 months becoming his father, channeling that energy, that rigidity, that inability to express love, whether he can go to that place, that childhood place where nothing was ever good enough, where affection was withheld, where love existed but couldn't be spoken. His agent mistakes the silence for hesitation about the project, starts selling. It's a prestige piece, awards potential, great character work, and exactly the kind of role Robert should be doing at this stage of his career. Robert interrupts, says he'll do it, not because of awards, not because it's prestige, because he has to, because Bull Meacham is the role he's been preparing for his entire life. Since childhood, since the first time his father looked at him with disappointment, since the first time he tried to earn approval that never came, since the first time he realized that some men love their children but can't tell them. The agent is thrilled, starts talking about deals, money, schedule. Robert barely listens. He's already somewhere else, already remembering, already preparing to become the man who raised him, the man who shaped him, the man he spent 47 years trying to understand. This is where everything changes for Robert Duvall. Preparation begins. Robert has played many characters, has disappeared into dozens of roles, but this is different. This isn't research. This is archaeology. In digging up memories he's buried, patterns he's inherited, wounds he's ignored, he starts with the physical. Bull Meacham is a military man, carries himself with authority, posture perfect. Movements economical, no wasted energy, no casual gestures, everything deliberate, everything controlled. Robert knows this body language, grew up watching it. His father stood the same way, walked the same way, commanded space the same way. Robert practices in front of a mirror, straightens his spine. He pulls his shoulders back, tightens his jaw, narrows his eyes, and suddenly he's looking at his father, at the man who sat at the head of the dinner table, who inspected homework like military reports, who graded everything, approved nothing, demanded more, always more. The emotional preparation is harder. Bull Meacham loves his family, deeply, genuinely, but can't express it, can't say the words, can't show vulnerability, can't admit need. His love comes out as discipline, as pushing, as impossible standards, because that's how his father loved him. And that's the only love he knows how to give. Robert understands this, knows this, lives this, because his father was the same. Admiral William Duvall loved his son. Robert knows this intellectually, but never felt it emotionally. Because love that can't be expressed becomes love that can't be received, becomes a wound that never heals, a hunger that never gets fed. Wait, don't miss this detail. What Robert is actually preparing to do. He's not just playing a character, he's forgiving his father, or trying to, by becoming him, by understanding him from the inside, by feeling what his father felt, the pressure, the expectations, the weight of masculinity that doesn't allow softness, the generational programming that says real men don't cry, don't apologize, don't admit weakness. Don't say, "I love you," because actions speak louder than words, and providing for your family is how you show love. But Robert also knows something his father never learned. The children need to hear the words, need the affirmation, need the tenderness, that providing isn't enough, that discipline isn't love, that pushing isn't caring, that you can do everything right and still fail if you never say, "I love you." So playing Bull Meacham becomes an act of translation, and taking his father's unexpressed love and making it visible, making it understandable, showing audiences what Robert had to figure out for himself, that Bull Meacham loves his family, that the strictness is love, that the pushing is love, that the impossible standards are love, broken love, damaged love, inherited trauma love, but love nonetheless. Filming begins. South Carolina, Beaufort, Marine Corps Air Station. They're shooting on an actual base with actual Marines. The authenticity is important. Bull Meacham isn't a caricature. He's real. These men exist, serve, lead, come home and don't know how to be soft, how to be fathers instead of commanding officers. Robert arrives on set in character. Crew members later say he never broke, never came out. For 3 months of filming, he was Bull Meacham, demanding, exacting, impossible to please, not cruel, not abusive, just relentlessly high standard, the way his father was. Michael O'Keefe plays Ben, Bull's son. The emotional center of the film, the child trying to earn his father's approval, trying to be good enough, strong enough, man enough, trying and failing because the standard keeps moving, keeps rising, keeps being unattainable. The first scene they shoot together is the basketball scene. Bull challenging Ben to a one-on-one game, father versus son, Bull winning, showing no mercy, demanding Ben fight harder, try harder, be better, humiliating him in the name of toughening him up. In the name of preparing him for a hard world, in the name of love that doesn't know it's destroying what it's trying to protect. You haven't seen Robert Duvall's biggest challenge yet. They rehearse the scene. Robert is Bull, aggressive, competitive, unyielding. Michael is Ben, trying, failing, breaking. The dynamic is so real, it's uncomfortable. The crew watches in silence. This isn't acting. This is therapy. This is exorcism. This is Robert playing out 47 years of father-son trauma in front of cameras. The director, Louis John Carlino, calls action. Robert goes into the scene fully, dribbling the basketball, taunting Ben, pushing him, testing him, demanding he be a man, be stronger, stop being soft. And in that moment, Robert isn't just playing Bull Meacham, he's channeling his father, channeling every moment his father pushed him, demanded more, withheld approval, confused love with discipline. Michael responds, fights back, tries to win, tries to please, tries to be enough, and fails. Because he's programmed to fail, because Bull needs him to fail, because if Ben wins, Bull loses, and Bull can't lose, can't show weakness, can't let his son surpass him, can't let go. The scene ends. Robert stands over Michael, breathing hard, still in character, still Bull. And for a moment, just a moment, something cracks. Robert sees himself on the ground, sees the child he was, trying to please a father who couldn't be pleased, trying to earn love that was already there but couldn't be accessed, trying to be enough for someone who needed him to never be enough. The director calls cut. Robert walks away, sits alone. Crew members give him space. They understand something happened, something real, something that transcended performance. That night, Robert calls his father. Admiral William Duvall is 75 years old, retired, living in Virginia. They talk occasionally. Stilted conversations, status updates, nothing deep, Nothing real, nothing that matters. Robert tells him about the film, about playing Bull Meacham, about the character. His father listens, asks practical questions. Is it a good role? Good money? Good director? All the surface things, none of the real things, Robert wants to ask. Wants to say, did you know? Did you understand what you were doing? Did you know I needed to hear you say it? Did you know that all the discipline and all the pushing and all the impossible standards couldn't replace 3 words? Did you know you were breaking me while trying to make me strong? But he doesn't ask. Can't ask. Because that would require vulnerability. Would require admitting hurt. And Admiral William Duvall didn't raise his son to be vulnerable. Raised him to be strong, to endure, to never complain, to never ask for what you need, to never show weakness. So Robert says none of this. He says, I think you'll like it. It's a good role, good script. And his father says, good. Let me know when it comes out. And they hang up. And Robert sits in his hotel room, holding the phone, feeling the weight of everything unsaid, everything that will never be said, everything that should have been said 47 years ago. This is where Robert Duvall's real struggle begins. Filming continues. Each scene pulls more from Robert, more memory, more pain, more understanding. There's a scene where Bull demands Ben stop crying. Men don't cry, Marines don't cry, Meachams don't cry. Robert delivers the line and hears his father's voice, remembers being 7 years old, skinning his knee, starting to cry. His father's look, the disappointment, the shame, the message that tears are weakness, that pain should be hidden, that real men swallow hurt. Robert makes the choice to play that scene with love, not cruelty. Bull isn't trying to hurt Ben. He's trying to prepare him, trying to make him strong enough to survive a world that will hurt him worse than a skinned knee. It's misguided. It's damaging. But it's love. Broken, toxic love. But love. The crew watches Robert work, watches him find the humanity in Bull, make him understandable even when he's wrong, make you see the father who loves beneath the commander who demands. It's extraordinary work, the kind of performance that comes from lived experience. From understanding the character from the inside, because you've lived with that character your whole life. Michael O'Keefe later says, working with Robert on that film changed me. He wasn't acting, he was processing. Every scene was him working through something real. And I was just there, witnessing, holding space. It was the most intense acting experience of my life, because it wasn't about acting, it was about healing. There's a scene near the end, where Bull finally shows vulnerability, where the armor cracks, where he almost says the words, almost admits he's scared, almost tells his son he loves him, but can't cross that line, can't break that programming. So he says something close, something coded, something that means I love you in his language, but isn't the words, isn't what Ben needs, isn't enough. Robert plays that scene with his whole heart, with 47 years of longing, with the understanding that his father loves him but will never say it. That some men are built that way, programmed that way, damaged that way, and they can't change, can't learn, can't cross the bridge to emotional expression no matter how much everyone needs them to. The director calls cut. Robert sits in the chair, still in character, or maybe out of character, maybe just Robert now, feeling everything Bull can't feel, saying everything Bull can't say, crying the tears Bull won't cry, processing 47 years in 3 minutes. But this is the most shocking part. Oh, what happens when filming ends? December 1979. The Great Santini is complete. The film is being edited, screened for test audiences. The response is powerful. People are moved, shaken. Men leave the theater in tears. Sons call their fathers. Fathers call their sons. The film touches something universal, the wound of unexpressed love, the damage of generational masculinity, the hope that understanding can heal what words never could. Robert's agent calls, the film is testing well. Awards buzz is starting. Robert might get his 4th Oscar nomination. This could be the one. This could be his year. Robert doesn't care about awards, doesn't care about buzz, only cares about one thing, one question. Will his father see it? Will Admiral William Duvall watch his son play a version of himself? Will he recognize it? Will he understand? Will it change anything? Robert calls his father, invites him to a private screening, just family. Before the public release. His father hesitates, busy, retired but busy. Golf, committees, things to do. Robert pushes, gently. Please, this is important. I need you to see this. His father finally agrees. We'll come. We'll watch. We'll see his son play Bull Meacham. The screening is arranged. Private theater in Washington, D.C. Robert's family. His father, his mother, his siblings. Small group. Intimate. The lights dim. The film begins. Robert watches his father more than the screen. Watches him watch. Looking for reaction. For recognition. For something. Anything. But Admiral William Duvall sits stone-faced. No emotion, no reaction. Just watching. The way he always watched, giving nothing away. The film plays. Robert sees his father see himself, sees the basketball scene, the crying scene, the moments of love expressed as discipline, the moments of approval withheld, the moments that defined Robert's childhood, all there, on screen, magnified, made visible, made undeniable. Still nothing from his father. No reaction, no acknowledgement, just watching. The film ends, lights come up, the family sits in silence. Nobody knows what to say. Nobody knows what just happened, whether it worked, whether it mattered, whether 47 years of unspoken pain just got resolved or just got reopened. Robert's father stands, straightens his jacket, turns to Robert, and says, "Good work, son, very realistic." That's it. That's all. Good work. Very realistic. The closest thing to "I love you" Admiral William Duvall can manage. The highest praise he knows how to give. Professional acknowledgement, soldier to soldier, man to man, not father to son, never father to son, because that would require vulnerability, would require crossing the line he's never crossed, will never cross. Everyone learned the truth, but the real shock was Robert Duvall's reaction. Robert stands, looks at his father, sees him clearly for the first time. Not as a father, as a man, a damaged man, a product of his generation, of his programming, of his trauma. A man who loves his son but cannot say it, who will die before saying it. Not because he's cruel, because he's broken, because nobody taught him how, because his father didn't tell him, and his father's father didn't tell his father. Generation after generation of men who loved but couldn't speak it, who provided but couldn't connect, who served but couldn't soften. And Robert realizes something. Playing Bull Meacham didn't change his father, won't change his father, can't change his father. His father's 75 years old, set in stone. The words will never come. The acknowledgement will never happen. The emotional connection will never exist. Not because he doesn't want it, because he doesn't know how, and it's too late to learn. But playing Bull Meacham changed Robert, made him understand, made him forgive. Made him stop waiting for something that will never come, made him stop needing his father's approval, made him realize that "good work, son," very realistic, is the closest thing to "I love you" he'll ever get, and that it has to be enough, because it's all there is. Robert extends his hand. His father shakes it, firm grip, military grip, no hug, never hug. But the handshake lingers, just for a second, longer than normal. And in that extra second, Robert feels it, the love that can't be spoken, the pride that can't be expressed, the father who would die for his son but will never tell him. They release. His father nods, leaves, drives home. Probably never thinks about it again, probably files it away with other professional accomplishments, probably doesn't know he just broke his son's heart and healed it at the same time. Robert stands in the empty theater, his family around him. His mother touches his shoulder, says quietly, "He was proud. You know that, right?" He just doesn't know how to say it." Robert nods, knows, has always known. But knowing isn't the same as feeling, and feeling requires hearing, and hearing requires speaking. And his father will never speak it, so Robert will never feel it. Not really, not the way he needs to, but he understands. And understanding is its own kind of closure, not healing, not resolution, but acceptance. The acceptance that some wounds don't heal, some needs don't get met, some fathers don't change. And you can either spend your life resenting that, or you can understand it, forgive it, let it go. Robert chooses to let it go. March 1980. The 52nd Academy Awards. Robert is nominated for Best Actor for The Great Santini, his fourth nomination. Doesn't win. Dustin Hoffman wins for Kramer vs. Kramer, another father-son story, another tale of masculinity and connection, another film about men learning to be fathers. Robert applauds, genuinely happy for Dustin, not bitter, not disappointed. Because he already got what he needed from The Great Santini, not an Oscar. Understanding. The understanding that his father's inability to express love wasn't personal, wasn't about Robert, was about William, about William's father, about generations of military men trained to command but not to connect, to provide but not to nurture, to serve but not to soften. After the ceremony, a reporter asks Robert about playing Bull Meekum, asks if it was difficult, personal, emotional. Robert pauses, considers lying, giving the standard answer. It was a great character, well written. I enjoyed the challenge. All the safe things actors say. But he tells the truth, says, I played my father, or a version of my father, and it taught me that my father loved me, even though he never said it, even though he never showed it the way I needed him to. He loved me the only way he knew how. And that has to be enough. The reporter asks, did your father see the film? Robert nods. He did. What did he say? Robert smiles, sad smile, knowing smile. He said, good work, son, very realistic. And that was his way of saying, I love you. It took me 48 years to understand that, but I understand it now. As security approached, Robert Duvall turned around. 1997, 18 years after the Great Santini, Admiral William Howard Duvall dies, 94 years old, lived a full life, served his country, raised his family, did his duty, left a legacy. He left his son with wounds that turned into wisdom, with absence that became understanding, with silence that became speech. At the funeral, Robert gives the eulogy, talks about his father's service, his dedication, his strength, all true, all important, all the things that should be said. But then he says something else, something unexpected. My father never told me he loved me, never said the words, not once in 66 years. And for most of my life, I resented that, needed that, waited for that. The room is silent. This isn't normal eulogy content. This is real. This is raw. But playing Bull Meacham taught me something, taught me that my father loved me with every breath, with every impossible standard, with every withheld compliment, with every demand that I be better, stronger, more. That was love, broken love, generational trauma love, military programming love, but love. He showed me love the only way he knew how, by providing, by protecting, by preparing me for a hard world, by making me strong enough to survive what he knew was coming. That was his love language, and I spent 48 years wishing he spoke a different language, wishing he could say the words, wishing he could be soft. But he couldn't, and that's okay, because I can. I can say, I love you to my children, can show affection, can be vulnerable, can be soft, not because I'm better than him, because he gave me the foundation to be different. He was strong so I could be soft. He was hard so I could be flexible. He withheld words so I could speak them freely. That's his gift, his legacy, not the words he never said, the man he made me become, the father I am because of the father he was. Robert pauses, looks at the casket. So thank you, Dad, for loving me the only way you knew how, for making me strong, for teaching me what not to do, for showing me that understanding is sometimes more valuable than words. So for being exactly who you were, perfectly imperfect, completely human. I love you. I know you can't say it back, but I know you feel it. Wherever you are, however you express it, I know. I finally know. And that's enough. The funeral ends. People approach Robert, say the eulogy was beautiful, honest, powerful, say they related, Say their fathers were the same. Say the silence was universal. Say the wounds are shared. And Robert realizes the great Santini wasn't just about his father. It was about all fathers, all sons, all men raised by men who couldn't speak love, all wounds passed down through generations, all silence that screamed, all the Admiral William Duvalls who loved their children but couldn't say it, all the Robert Duvalls who needed to hear it. 2015, Robert is 84 years old, being interviewed for a documentary about his career, about his roles, about his craft. The interviewer asks about the great Santini, about playing Bull Meacham, about his father. Robert thinks for a long time, then says, "That film saved my relationship with my father, not because it changed him, because it changed me. I stopped needing him to be different, stopped waiting for words that would never come, started seeing the love that was always there, just expressed differently, just hidden beneath duty and discipline and impossible standards." The interviewer asks, "Do you wish he had told you he loved you, even once?" Robert nods. "Every day, for 66 years, and still. Even now, even understanding everything I understand, even having forgiven everything, even having found peace, I still wish, just once, just to hear it, to know what it would feel like." But wishes don't change reality, and reality is that some men can't speak love, can't cross that bridge, can't break that programming. My father was one of those men, and I can either resent that forever, or understand it, forgive it, use it. I chose to use it, chose to be the father he couldn't be, and chose to say the words he couldn't say, chose to break the pattern he couldn't break. That's how I honor him, not by wishing he was different, by being different, by learning from his silence, by speaking the love he felt but couldn't express. The interviewer asks one final question. If your father could see you now, what do you think he'd say? Robert smiles, that same sad, knowing smile. Good work, son. Very realistic. What about you? Right now, in your life, are you waiting for someone to speak love in your language? Are you resenting their silence? Are you holding on to wounds that understanding could heal? Are you waiting for words that may never come? Because Robert Duvall learned the hardest lesson, that you can wait a lifetime for I love you, can need it desperately, can deserve to hear it, and never get it. Not because the love isn't there, because the speaker is broken, programmed, damaged. He's unable to cross the bridge between feeling and speaking. And you have a choice. Resent the silence forever, or understand it, forgive it, learn from it, become different because of it, break the pattern, speak the words, be the person your parent couldn't be. Robert played his father, became his father, understood his father, forgave his father, and then became a different father. Said the words, gave the affection, offered the approval, broke the silence that defined generations. That's the real performance. Not Bull Meacham on screen, but Robert Duvall in life. Choosing to be different, choosing to speak, choosing to love out loud, because his father couldn't, because his father taught him what not to do by showing him what damaged silence creates. Good work, son. Very realistic. That was Admiral William Duvall's I love you. And it took Robert 48 years to hear it, 18 more years to accept it, and 84 years to finally be at peace with it. How long will you wait? What are you waiting for? Because the words might never come. The person might never change. The father might never be who you need him to be. And you can spend your life resenting that. Or you can do what Robert did. Understand it, forgive it, use it, become different because of it. The Great Santini wasn't just a film, it was therapy, archaeology, forgiveness, understanding, the performance that healed by making visible what was invisible. That broke Robert's heart and healed it simultaneously. That taught him his father loved him even though he never said it, and that has to be enough, because it's all there is. Good work, son. Very realistic. That's love. In Admiral William Duvall's language, in Robert's father's language, in the language of men who can't speak but still feel, still love, still break their sons' hearts while trying to make them strong. Understand the language, forgive the silence, break the pattern. Speak the words. That's the lesson. That's the legacy. That's Robert Duvall becoming his father, to understand his father, to forgive his father, to become a better father. 3 words he never heard. I love you. 5 words he did hear. Good work, son. Very realistic. Learning to translate between them. That's the journey, that's the healing, that's the performance of a lifetime.